Before we talk to Ted Soliday from Naples Airport and Lois Boland, she's heading up the patriotic Keep the Spirit of 45 Alive observances in Naples. We welcome the chairman of the U.S. House Budget Committee. He's also the senior member of the U.S. House Ways and Means Committee from Wisconsin, Paul Ryan. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
So you're in town. You're campaigning for a former colleague, Chauncey Goss,
That's right.
running for U.S. House District 19. Why don't you go ahead and get in your best plug for Chauncey?
Hey, look, I've known Chauncey a long time. We work very closely together on the Budget Committee. A lot of people are conservative. What matters, I think, are who can be an effective conservative. That's why I'm a big fan of Chauncey Goss. I normally don't endorse in primaries or get involved at this stage of campaigns. I make a few exceptions. One was for Marco Rubio over Christ back when that race was. The reason I'm here for Chauncey Goss is because I have just such confidence in him. He has a tremendous amount of experience, integrity. He knows what he's doing. He has core principles, and he knows how to implement those principles. He knows more about how to fix this federal budget mess, this economic problem we have in Washington, than most people in Congress do.
He worked as a member of your staff.
Yeah, he was deputy staff director of our staff. He helped write our budgets. He was literally the guy who wrote our budgets. And so these are the conservative budgets that we would offer and pass. The Senate hasn't passed a budget in 3 years. So we've offered budgets that protect Medicare, make sure that they're solvent for the current generation, but prevents a debt crisis, balances the budget, pays off the debt so our kids get a debt-free nation, right. Reforms the tax system. So to me, what matters is, can we get conservatives who are really effective, who know how to actually get things done? You know, can-do conservatives. Okay. That's what Chauncey is, and that's why
he also worked in the Congressional Budget Office.
Yeah, he worked at the Office of Management and Budget as well.
Okay.
And so that's why I'm here to support Chauncey, because I just think Chauncey Goss will be a fantastic congressman.
There you go. We also thought it'd be cool if while you were here, you could announce that yes, indeed, you're going to be the vice presidential running mate.
Let's say Marco Rubio instead. There. Yeah, look, the way I say these things. A lot of people like to talk about this. I don't think it helps the Romney campaign to feed into the speculation, so I just don't really comment about it.
But you're on the list by all accounts, and the question would be, would you really be a good choice? Because you might make some of the Democrats so crazy, you know where I'm going.
No. Look, I'm happy where I am. I think I'm making a big difference. To me, the position doesn't really matter. What matters is we save this country from a debt crisis. What matters is we prevent a debt crisis from happening. What matters is we keep the promises our government made to seniors who already organized their lives around these commitments. But if we keep going down the path we are on, if we have a debt crisis, we let the president's health care law kick in, then all bets are off. Then those empty promises that have been made to people become broken promises. What matters to me is we secure these promises, we get our spending under control, so we don't have a debt crisis, and we get this economy growing. And what's going on right now in Washington is anything but fiscal leadership.
So on the House Budget Committee, and maybe as chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, which I know you're interested in, you might be in a better position to make an impact, make a difference where you are rather than as vice president.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to get into all this speculation. What matters to me is we fix this mess. I really think America can grow the economy very quickly if we get the right policies in place. We can make sure that we can secure the commitments of Medicare and Social Security if we get the budget under control. If we don't get the budget under control, those kinds of promises become broken promises.
How important is the Connie Mack, Bill Nelson race nationally?
It's a big deal because we need to win the Senate as well. Here's the problem as I see it. We have a debt crisis coming, just like what Europe is experiencing. That means Congress has to pass budgets to prevent that from happening. We've passed our budgets in the House. The Senate hasn't passed a budget for 3 years. We have a law, the 1974 Budget Act, that requires Congress pass a budget every year. The Senate hasn't passed a budget since 2009. So our government's operating without a budget since 2009. You need to have people in the Senate that are willing to make tough decisions, lead, and do something. That's why we need a Senate seat in Wisconsin and in Florida to help us get this turned around. The lack of leadership is just breathtaking in the Senate, and that's why we need Connie Mack to win this Senate seat. Not only for Floridians, but for America.
You mentioned Marco Rubio, very interesting. You really are supporting him among all others? Marco
I was just joking about that. No, I think all these people are great. No, Mark, all the people you hear being talked about are fantastic leaders. We have a very deep bench in the Republican Party. So I was just saying that in jest. This is Marco's home state. I'm a big fan of Marco's, and I was just saying it in jest.
Well, let me get back to Chauncey Goss, and you're a big fan of him. Would his connections to you necessarily translate in committee assignments that could be meanmeaneful for Southwest Florida voters? In other words, can you help him?
Not only can I will. I want to get him on. I want to help him get on a good committee. The reason I think Chauncey will be such an effective member of Congress is because he knows how to do this job. He knows these issues. He knows these issues better than almost every member of Congress. And so that means he will get put on a very important committee. I'm on the committee that determines who goes on the committees. That's called the steering committee.
Okay.
So it's very rare that freshmen get on these kind of choice committees, but it's obvious in my opinion, in my mind, that Chauncey, if he gets elected, will go on a very important committee where he'll make a big difference from the get-go because of his expertise, because of his knowledge, and his great reputation.
Will the gridlock in Washington stop after this election?
Well, I sure hope so.
I mean, is that a sure thing?
I don't know the answer to that question because I don't know who's going to win the election. I want Republicans to win the election. I think we are. I think Mitt Romney is going to become the next president.
But one way or
and
the
I think
other,
we're going to win the Senate.
But one way or the other, does it time put this stuff aside?
Yeah, so you would like to think that with a debt crisis staring us in the face, with the worst economic recovery since World War II, with the highest poverty rates in a generation, you would think that would be enough to get action. The president hasn't proposed a solution in all 4 years of his bringing budgets to the Congress. Like I said, the Senate hasn't done a budget in 3 years. They're simply not leading. And so it troubles me to think about what an Obama second term would look like, or what a Bill Nelson majority Senate would look like when we saw what the last 4 years
But
got
Obama
us.
says we've come too far to turn back now. This is one of his brochures.
I wouldn't be running on that slogan if I were him. The president has a terrible economic record. He can't run on that. He didn't change his tune or moderate, like Bill Clinton did in the middle of his first term. So he's going to have to divide this country, to distract the country, to try and win an election. I just don't think it's going to work.
Thanks for your time.
You bet.
You enjoy your visit to Southwest Florida. U.S. Representative Paul Ryan of Wisconsin will be right back with Ted Soliday from Naples Airport right after this.
Attention Naples and Fort Myers. The great $20 million total furniture sell-off is going on at Behr's. Behr's is selling out their entire inventory to restock with new designs from the best brand names like Bernhardt, Paula Deen, Hooker, Lexington, Stanley, Roy Hill, and more. Every item is drastically reduced, up to 80% on the biggest selection of designer home furnishings. Rock bottom prices. Everything must go to make room for all new floor samples. The great $20 million total furniture sell-off. Only at Behr's in Naples and Fort Myers. On now.
I'm Walna Arisme, NCH. This is my hospital.
I'm John Hart, and this is my hospital.
I'm Sarah Garcia, and this is my hospital.
Shh. NCH, this is my hospital.
I'm Alan Weiss, NCH, this is my hospital.